Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today is a Monday morning. It's pretty gloomy. I'm not going to say that it's a spectacular Monday morning because it isn't. So what I thought I would do this week is take you through all of the stuff that I'm going to be doing this week. So I'm basically just going to take the camera everywhere with me and film it and take you along with a typical week on the flower farm in January. So yeah, there's a lot to do this week. I've got lots of planning and I've got things to do in the beds as well this week. So I haven't actually written down a list of my jobs this week, but that will be one of the things that I'll probably do today, just to make sure that I can stay on track and I get all the things done that I want to get done. So I'm going to go and feed all of the animals first, and then I'm going to have a look at what needs doing out in the fields. So I hope you enjoy tagging along with me this week. Let me know what you've been up to this week as well. I might have to go and get some more pig food this morning because this isn't going to be enough for Hector and Cyril. Next up is the alpacas, and I've got them the Christmas tree from the house, so I'm going to take that to them and see what they think of the Christmas tree. So the alpacas get two elements in their feed. They get graze on, which is the grass and the energy portion of the feed, and then they get the camelibra, which contains all the vitamins and minerals that they need. And they also need a vitamin syringe at certain points in the winter because they can't absorb vitamin D through their skin because their fleece is so thick. I don't know if you know the names. I haven't mentioned it that many times on YouTube or on Instagram, but this one is Ollie. He's the big kid. He's very big compared to the rest of them. This one's Billy. This one's Vivaldi, and then at the back there's Valentino. Some might say that a wheelbarrow is better than carrying a flap of hay on the shoulder, but I think not. Hopefully this will be enough to satisfy Hector and Cyril. So on Friday I planted a lot of perennials in this field. I didn't film it, but I will just explain to you what I did now. So this bed here, in summer it had weed membrane in it. I think it had 12-inch holes in it. So the weeds started to grow through the holes in the weed membrane because I didn't actually have any plants in it all summer. So in the summer I weeded it, and then I put some cardboard on top of it, and then I covered it back over with the weed membrane, and that helped to keep the weeds down all summer pretty much. So I lifted the weed membrane up on Friday and all of the cardboard was gone. So all of the worms have been working that into the soil. Worms absolutely love cardboard, so that had all gone and worked itself into the soil, which is some great organic matter for the soil. And then I went and added quite a few wheelbarrows worth of compost on top. Then I put some fresh weed membrane on there and bent some new holes in it, as you can see here. I'm not actually sure how far apart these holes are. They're maybe, I'm really bad at this as you know, maybe 2 foot, 1.5 foot. So then I went ahead and planted some Pittosporum and some Brachyglottis and what else is up there? Let's just go and have a look, shall we, instead of guessing. There's 2 different types of Pittosporum. One is Elizabeth, Pittosporum tenuifolium Elizabeth, and the other one is variegatum, so it's a variegated. So Elizabeth, variegatum. And then we have Physocarpus, and then 4 anemones at the end. And then I went and did a second bed over here. So this is planted up. I think the spacing in this bed is a little bit tighter because the perennials that I put in are a little bit smaller. So I've got Eryngium, Big Blue. Sorry about the dogs barking yet again. Guys, shh! Eryngium and Salvia nemorosa Cardonna Pink. And then some Veronica Inspire Pink and some Astrantia Roma. And if you didn't watch my plant haul video from Reeton Nurseries, that is where I got all of these perennials from, and as you can see by some of the labels, they are cheap as chips. So yeah, and then I've just got one other type of Astrantia, which is this white one here. So I'm hoping they're all going to take well to the soil. I should have really planted them straight after I bought them in, I can't remember when it was, if it was maybe in October or something, so I should have planted them then, but they've been fine in the pots in the field, so I'm just planting them now. And I've got a few more to plant, which I'm going to get done today. I just need to find a bed to put them in, because I've left my dahlia tubers in the ground again this year, so they're all taken up. So I've got Echinops Blue Globe left to plant, and I've got some eucalyptus trees or small plants, and then I've got some pampas grass, and that is it. So I've got a few empty beds over this side of the field. This is Craspedia, which I put in last year. I'm not sure whether that's going to keep going all winter and then sort of maybe flower again next season, so I might just leave it in and see what happens. This has got some perennial seedlings in it, so there's some Dusty Miller and things like that in there. And this was grasses, empty. That was grasses, no longer needed. Apart from these grasses at the front here are perennial grasses, so I'll probably leave that bed as it is because it's got the perennial grass in it. this bed is empty as well, so it could, my pampas and eucalyptus could potentially go in there. 2 beds of dahlias there. This is Greek cress. It has actually self-seeded itself there, so I could keep that in and have a early Greek cress crop. And then this bed here was not technically a bed, I just covered it over with some weed membrane, not last season, the season before, so it's had weed membrane on it for the season. I'm not sure whether to just keep that as a corridor slash path kind of thing, to give some space between everything else and those roses there, which I don't actually use that much. Anyway, so I've got the choice of about 2 beds, this one or this one. So I need to make a decision, and then I'm going to mulch it with plenty of compost and get those plants put in the ground. So I've just remembered that in this bed I've got some Achillea, the what's the name of it, English mace, down here. So when I was pulling up the membrane I was like, oh yeah, that's there. But what I think I'm going to do is dig it up, maybe split it as well and plant it elsewhere, because I want to use this bed and the mace can go somewhere else into another bed with more perennials. So that's the Achillea dug up, and this bed's ready for mulching now. Rob's just brought me a pile of compost, so I can start wheelbarrowing that over, and I'm really impressed with actually how nice the soil feels in this field, because it's not boggy, it feels quite loose and well draining, so it'll be a good bed to put the eucalyptus in, I think, because eucalyptus likes good drainage. So yeah, let's go with a bit of compost. So I've just finished planting the eucalyptus in this bed. I was hoping to get a few more in, but I wouldn't want them any closer than they are now anyway. So I've got 3 varieties in here. I've got Eucalyptus pulverulenta, which is like the baby blue variety, I think. And I've got Eucalyptus globulus. Oh, actually there's only 2 varieties in here. So there's Eucalyptus pulverulenta and Eucalyptus globulus, and I've got Eucalyptus gunni, which are the larger pots that I haven't managed to plant yet, but I might actually plant them over near those established eucalyptus. Good morning. So today is Tuesday and I've got a few things to do today. Yesterday I managed to get all the eucalyptus planted, apart from I think there was about 10 or less plants that I didn't plant in the end, so they're very small, so I think I might just pot them on and leave them for now until I can find a place to put them. And today I really want to get the tulips planted because it's January now and I still haven't done them, and I am a bit concerned that they aren't going to do very well this year, but that's just my fault for not getting on with it earlier on in November, October last year. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to start my ranunculus off as well, because they are not planted either. So I'm going to pre-sprout the ranunculus, and I'm going to plant the tulips in a no-till or no-dig method. So follow along with that if you are interested in no-till tulips. So you'll be pleased to know that I finally got my sink plumbed in. So I've got water and I've got drainage. So I'm just going to start off the ranunculus, and I'm going to just add them to a bucket and put fresh water in with them, and I'm going to leave them for the day, and they should plump up nicely. So at the moment they are looking pretty sad and sort of shriveled up, but hopefully by the end of the day they will be looking nice and plump. I actually already made a video on how to start ranunculus corms, and I'm still using the same technique there, so if you want to see that in more detail, then I will put a link up here and you can click on that and have a look at how I start my ranunculus in more detail. So what I'm going to do is just add them all to this bucket. Some people put sorry if you can hear my dog, she's rustling through all the dried flowers. Patty! Patty! Yeah, so some people use a bubbler to keep the water aerated so that the tubers don't, so that the corms don't rot in the water. But what I generally do is I come back to the bucket a few times in the day, and I just swish the water around, maybe drain it off and add a bit more water, just to make sure that it's not going stagnant. I don't really think that it can go bad within a few hours anyway, but that's what I do just to be on the safe side. So I'm just going to clean out this bucket and add all of the corms in there and then fill it with water. So I'm going to come back to that in a few hours time before the end of the day and get those planted up in trays. So for now I'm going to take the tulips, and I think instead of making a bed outside, I'm going to plant them in crates and see what happens when we plant them in crates. I've got quite a lot of crates in storage, so we'll have a go with that, and then I will get some crates ready for the ranunculus as well for when they're ready to be potted up. So I'm set up by the compost heap. I've got my tulip bulbs here and I've got my crates here and compost. The only thing that I'm concerned about this technique is the compost that I've got is quite warm still, which obviously isn't very good for the tulips. So I don't think this is going to work, but we'll try it anyway and see how the tulips find it. Because I haven't got any other alternative source of compost, and I'm not digging a trench. I don't have the energy to dig a trench, so what I'm going to do is add a bit of compost into the bottom of these crates, really tightly pack the tulips in with each other, and then add as much compost as I can on top, and then just leave them sitting on the grass in the field. So that's the tulips planted up, and there's about 550 bulbs there, so let's hope that they survive and produce some good long stems. So I'm just preparing the seed trays for the ranunculus, and they are soaking away in the container. I've just given them a little swish over with my hand, and I'm just putting some paper which came in the packaging for the ranunculus in the bottoms of these trays so that the compost doesn't fall through, and then I'm just going to put a thin layer of compost on the bottom, and then when the ranunculus are ready I'm just going to pack those in quite tightly onto the compost and then cover it over so that I can pre-sprout them. So we pre-sprout them just to see which ones are going to be viable, and we don't need to plant the ones that don't sprout into the polytunnel. So, and the other thing is that my polytunnel isn't ready yet, so once the ranunculus have sprouted and are ready to be planted, hopefully the polytunnel will be ready then as well. So this is kind of just like getting them off to a good start, and then they can go straight into the polytunnel once they're ready. The other thing is that I am just using seed compost at the moment. I'm not using multi-purpose compost or anything like that. So I'm hoping that the seedlings aren't going to be in here for too long. So if they are, I'll give them a feed, but at the moment I'm just starting them off in seed compost. So, back in the polytunnel this afternoon, or just in the polytunnel this afternoon. I haven't actually been in here for a while, so pretty embarrassing. It's awful in here, so I really just want to get it cleared out and start fresh in here. So I think I made a video last winter about what my plan of action was for the polytunnel, and basically I'm going to be clearing it out and just mulching it, like more mulch that you can even imagine. I'm just going to try and put as much stuff as I can in here to try and bury weed seeds and things like that, and stop all of those weeds that I can't control every year from coming back. So originally this polytunnel has always been no dig. I've never tilled it, never rotavated it or anything. So the soil quality is so poor in here. I've never really paid any special attention to the soil in here, even though it's been no dig. So what I want to do is take up the weed membrane that's in here. This bed's the least worst one, so I think I'm going to start with that one. It had a lot of thistles in it last year, so what I'm going to do is pull the weed membrane up. I'm not sure whether to leave the thistle plant material there, because it might actually add to the organic matter in the soil. And then I'm going to add cardboard, corrugated cardboard on a roll, and then I'm just going to absolutely plaster the compost on top of that. So I'm going to literally make it inches and inches thick, just to try and prevent anything from germinating in the future. So wish me luck. I think I'll try and get this one bed done today and tackle the rest on another day. So the weed membrane is off. I've decided I'm just going to leave whatever plant material is in there to break down into the soil, and I'm just going to take the fork. I'm just going to take the irrigation pipes off first, then I'm going to give it a bit of a fork over, but I'm just going to stick the fork tines in and pull back on it a bit, just to create a bit of air and space in between the soil, acting as a broad forking kind of exercise. But I don't have a broad fork yet, so we're just going to do it with the fork, and then I'm going to roll out the cardboard on top of that and start adding some compost on. So it's about 3 o'clock now on Tuesday, and I've put one load of compost down there, but I could do with getting the other wheelbarrow that's got the one wheel rather than the two, because the two wheelbarrow is too big for in here really, and it's actually too heavy because I always put too much in it. So if I get a better sized wheelbarrow, then that should be easier. But what I'm going to do is leave that for tomorrow, because it is 3 o'clock now, like I said, and I want to get the ranunculus in the trays tonight before it gets dark and before I forget about them soaking in that water in the container. So I'm about to pot up my ranunculus, and I'm basically going to do the same thing that I did with the tulips, which is ram them in as close as I can together to each other, because they are going to just be sprouting in here and then going into the polytunnel eventually. So I think I told a little fib earlier when I said that I was going to be putting a thin layer of compost on the bottom and then covering them over with more compost. But what I'm actually going to do is, well, I've put a thick layer of compost in the bottom of the trays, and then I'm just going to be pressing the corms into the seed compost, and then I won't be covering them with much of anything, because I want to be able to see the corms that have sprouted and to pull them out of the tray easily when I'm planting them. So welcome to Wednesday on the flower farm. You've been with me for, this is the 3rd day now. So I think I'm going to wrap it up today, because even though I've still got a lot to do this week, the things that I've got to do probably will form another video in themselves. So you're only getting half a week, I'm afraid. But last night I managed to finish off planting up all of the ranunculus. So I've got 10 trays of ranunculus there just sitting and hopefully sprouting, and I also have 1 tray full of anemones as well, because I forgot that I'd ordered some anemones. I think there's 100 corms there, so that is exciting. I'm looking forward to the ranunculus again this year because they are so beautiful. They are up there with my top 5 favourite flowers. So I would say probably dahlias, ranunculus, and then I would have to think hard about the rest. So the other thing that happened yesterday was that I ordered a bare root hedge to plant into my flower field up there, and it arrived yesterday and I totally forgot about it. And then I got a text from DPD saying, your parcel is arriving today, and I was like, what is that? And then I was like, I bet it's that blooming hedge. So now I've got to sort out that. I've got to dig a trench to put the hedge in, so I need to just do a bit of research about the best way to do it, what the plant spacing should be, etc. So I'm going to make that into another video. So hopefully today I'm going to finish off, or at least make a dent in putting the compost onto that bed that I started yesterday in the polytunnel, and then get on with some research about planting this hedge. Okay, so it isn't my whole hedge order, which is great. It is the viburnum opulus that I ordered, which actually was pot grown rather than bare root. So they've just sent me part of my order, and these are in pots, but I mean they're not in the best condition in the pots. So I think I'm gonna have to pot these on anyway. It looks like they've just been shoved into that pot and they haven't actually been grown in that. But I'll pot those on, and they're not desperate because they're not bare root. They're not desperate to be planted into the field. So that's got me off a job this week. So as you can see, I've just finished mulching this bed with compost. I'm hoping that I've put enough on to prevent the weeds from coming back this year, because the weeds are just a major problem in this tunnel. So I'm hoping that the combination of thick straw mulch, then cardboard, and then a thick layer of compost is going to help with that problem. If not, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to ask for some advice about where to go from then, from somebody who kind of knows what they're doing, maybe a bit more than I do. So what I've decided I'm going to do whilst I've been burrowing and thinking, I think I'm going to get some lactic acid bacteria serum sprayed onto this, because there is some kind of fungal activity in the compost, and my guess is that it's not 100% beneficial. So I want to balance out the microbial environment in the compost, and then I can inoculate it with some that I've prepared myself from either the Jadam liquid fertilizer, the grass. I've got some grass fertilizer, which is basically just grass that I pulled up in summer, and water, and some leaf mold soil, which should have added lots of nice bacteria and fungi into that. So I can just spray that onto the soil or feed it with a watering can. So I might have to give that a go and see whether I can inoculate the compost with some good bacteria. I'm just in the polytunnel with my bucket with my LAB in down there, and the LAB, when you make it and you keep it in the fridge, it should store for about 6 months, and mine has been in the fridge for about 8 months now. So I need to make a fresh batch, but because it's only 2 months out of date, I know that the lactobacillus is going to be a bit less than it was before, but I'm just going to use it up for now and make a fresh batch. So if I just water it today, then in a week or so time, when it's when a new batch has been cooked up, then I can apply that. So even if there is a reduced amount of LAB, at least it's doing something rather than nothing. So what I'm going to do is mix it up actually in that bucket and just tip the buckets of water onto the soil, but I'm going to water it first because the LAB needs to be able to access all areas via the fluid. It doesn't like it to be too dry, so I'm going to water it down so that it's able to move around in the soil. And yeah, I think there's actually a family of robins living in here, so I need to be careful about that when I start clearing out the rest of the polytunnel, because I don't want to disturb their nest, but they've been very active in here the last couple of days. So the compost has had a good watering, and now I'm going to be adding the LAB at a dilution of 2 tablespoons per gallon. So this is a 3-gallon bucket, and I'm going to put 6 tablespoons per bucket and then just slosh it onto the beds. I haven't actually got a tablespoon with me, so I'm just going to be estimating it, but it doesn't matter if I put it on a bit thick, because like I said, it is a little bit out of date, so it isn't going to be as potent as it would be fresh. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this probably shouldn't be done with fresh tap water, especially in my area, because we are in a hard water area and bacteria doesn't do well in hard water. So I will be looking at a rainwater collection system this year, or putting a filter on the tap water. So the LAB is applied, and I actually just went and watered it in a little bit more as well, just to help to wash those bacteria through the soil and the compost, and hopefully they'll do a good job in there. Hopefully they will help to fight off any nasty things that are in there, and also if there's anything else that still needs breaking down within the compost, then they will be able to do that as well. So they are really working the magic, hopefully, in the soil. But as I said, it's a couple of months out of date, so I'm going to go and make a fresh batch probably tomorrow now, and keep applying that for a couple of weeks, and then I'll be putting the JLF on there. So if you want to find out more about the natural farming and regenerative farming inputs, there's a couple of really great books that I recommend, as well as the No-Till Flowers podcast, and I've also just joined the Regenerative Flower Farmers Network, which is created by Jenny Love of Love and Fresh Flowers. I think if you Google, well, I'll put the link in my description and you can join that. I think it's like $5 a year or something like that. We had a really great Q&A session the other night with Jenny, and she's just full of so much good information. So if you want to learn more about that, then definitely check out those links in my description. So I'm going to end that video there, guys. Thanks so much for joining me for the last 3 days. I've really enjoyed getting back into the swing of filming things and editing as well. So I really wanted to sort of get myself back into the routine of thinking in the filming mindset. So let me know if you enjoyed this video and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you can follow along with our journey this year. I'm really looking forward to the flower season ahead. So I wish you all well and see you soon.